the energy in this virtual room and the energy that you're all conveying to me is really powerful and certainly important for me to witness, but also to share conversation with all of you. And this conversation around culture and identity and ethnicity and race, all of these sort of things that make us who we are really important to not just explore as young people, which I know that's the exercise that you all have undertaken, but it's a really important effort and exploration for you to do for the rest of your life. Oftentimes when we think about who we are and what makes us who we are, it's often related to the work that we choose to do. But I think that, that's certainly a part of it, but I really think that who we are sort of directs us to the work that we choose to do, as opposed to the other way, the work determining who we are or what we're all about. I think it's the other way around. So I often get the question, we talk about identity, I often get the question, where are you from? And they say, because they look at me and they don't quite understand, or sort of trying to, what do they see and what is their perception of me? Both the type of person I am and maybe what kind of person I am. And so I usually jokingly respond back. They say, where are you from? I say, I'm from Dorchester. And they go, that's not what I meant. I go, I know what you meant, but then ask your question. But I am, as you can hear, because I've been talking now for a few minutes, I am very much from Dorchester. I've got a pretty thick and heavy Dorchester accent. But, I think about my own story, for the thumbs ups and the hearts. I am very much a Dorchester girl, but what I think makes so many of us that live in Boston, who grew up in Boston, what makes us special is where we've come from is so different. And each one of us have such a unique and special story and certain circumstances that brought us to Boston. Whether you just arrived in the last couple of months or a couple of years, or like me, you were born here and your parents came from somewhere else, or if your grandparents or great-grandparents came from somewhere else. I'm still often wondering, where do I fit in society? Because so often we think about what is your identity, who are you? And it's something that we all struggle with every single day, because sometimes I am functioning as a mom. Sometimes I'm functioning as a teacher. Sometimes I'm functioning as an Arab. Sometimes I'm functioning as a first-generation American. Sometimes I'm functioning or acting with the lens of the daughter of immigrants. Sometimes, so there are these pieces of me that I bring to the work and I bring to anything that I'm undertaking. And sometimes the identities are in conflict with one another. Not in conflict, but depending on what that subject matter is, you exist in a certain space. But understanding how you exist and realizing that all of those components are an important part of who you are as a person, and always striving to have clarity around your own personal existence, to appreciate your own personal existence, and to know that each one of those components is valuable and critical to everything that you do, whether it's school, whether it's work, whether it's sports, whether it's hanging out with your friends. All of those components are invaluable pieces to who you are. I have this hashtag that I use a lot, City Kids Win. I don't know if I've told you that before, but when you have things like this in front of you, this is an opportunity for our kids to win. And the hashtag came from, my kids play a lot of sports, and as a city girl, I love when city teams beat suburban teams, because we often, and when I coached, I saw this when I was coaching high school, when I was teaching, that suburban teams would often look down on city kids because it was like this, they didn't believe in us the way that we deserved to be believed in as city kids, but also how, we've got a lot of pride being from Boston. I mean, there's, and you never ever meet someone that lives outside the city and they tell you they're from Boston. They're not from Boston, they're outside of Boston. But anyway, it brought me such joy when my kids and their city teams would win in some sort of athletic, whatever, whether it was baseball or soccer or football, whatever it was. And so I started this City Kids Win hashtag, but it's so much more than just athletics. This is about opportunity for academic clinics, academic tutoring. It's about when a classroom goes on a field trip. It's about access to, it's just anything that's more than, like when we can enhance anyone's one day of experience, it's an opportunity for our City Kids to win. And that's really important to me. And obviously 3Point, you're all about City Kids Win. I mean, in every sort of aspect of all of the things that you do, it's all about City Kids Win. And that's my mission, and that's the mission. I want that mentality. I want that value statement for any member of the school. Center of their decision should be about how do we help our kids, our City Kids win.
Hi, my name is Luana.
Hi, Luana.
And my question is, using one word, what would that one word be? What inspired you to do what you do now, and why you chose that one word?
Wow, that one word, that's a real big one, because I would use, if I could use my hashtag, it would be City Kids Win, all one word. But I think that I think that the word I would choose is hopeful. So, because I think that if we lead with hope, it's not enough, because we're going to lead with work, right? But hopefulness is really about wanting more, to do better. I'm hopeful that I'm hopeful, for example, that we'll see the next, the other side of this COVID pandemic. We will, and I'm really hopeful about our ability to recover from this on the other end. I am hopeful that our students, all of you that aren't able to be in school, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to reconnect with you soon when we think about our schools. But I'm also hopeful that what you've lost during this time, both your in-person friendships, your peer groups, the learning that you've lost, because learning has certainly been lost during this time. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to catch up soon to those pieces. I'm hopeful about our environment and our ability to stop climate change. I'm hopeful that we can do better around city violence and all that. And so that's my word. I'd say hopeful is my word, but it doesn't exclude the work that needs to go into making the hopeful a reality.